What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Canadians' experiences meeting famous Canadians in real life. As an American who doesn't really know all that much about famous Canadians, I thought this could be a very fun Reddit discussion to take a look at. Stories of meeting famous people are always so fascinating because you just wonder, what are famous people like in real life? Are they cool? Are they nice? Are they jerks? How did it go? What happened? So these are stories of Canadians actually interacting and meeting famous Canadians in real life. So let's take a look at this. Who's the most famous Canadian you've ever had close contact with? Starting with, for me, it was Wayne Gretzky. What? Wayne Gretzky? Now, I don't know that much about like famous Canadians throughout history, but I've heard of Wayne Gretzky. I'm pretty confident he's a big deal. Big deal in Canadian hockey, which is a big deal. Hockey in Canada. For me, it was Wayne Gretzky. I was able to meet him before a game when I was 10. I got to pat him on the right shoulder pad. So, was this really meeting Wayne Gretzky, or was this like Wayne Gretzky like walking into the rink and you're reaching over the reaching over the barricade to like pat him on the back, and he's like, "Who just touched me?" Whatever. And he just keeps going onto the ice rink. I'm sure he gets that all the time, but that's still a really cool story, especially when you're 10. To be able to pat Wayne Gretzky on the back going into a game. That's awesome. I met Brent Butt in a Shoppers Drug Mart when he was with his short co-star partner, Brent Butt. I actually don't know who Brent Butt is. This is the other thing I get to do in this discussion is learn about famous Canadians that I should probably be aware of. And the experience. This is a Canadian actor and comedian. I can't say I recognize him, honestly. Anything else? Brent Butt, Canadian actor, comedian, writer, known for his role as Brent Leroy on the CTV sitcom Corner Gas, which he created. Oh, Corner Gas! Now, thankfully, I learned about Canadian television shows at one point during a video. And I learned a little bit about Corner Gas, popular comedy series, Canadian comedy TV show. This is Brent Butt, who played Brent Leroy, and he created it. Wow. That's a huge accomplishment. I didn't recognize him. Does he work at the gas station in that show? I'm not sure. Okay, so this person met Brent Butt in Shoppers Drug Mart. Oh, I wonder how that went. I hung out in a hot tub at a hotel with Theo Fleury when he was in junior hockey and played on the same team as my mother's friend's son. Talk about a distant connection there. Theo Fleury, again, I don't know this person. Theo Fleury, Canadian former ice hockey player and author. Really? He's 55. Oh, and they met him. I hung out in a hot tub. Okay, in a hot tub with Theo Fleury when he was in junior hockey. Theo Fleury, Canadian former professional ice hockey player, author, motivational speaker. Awesome. Is he a fairly well-known hockey star at this point? Like, do most Canadians know that name? I had not heard of him, but I don't know much of anything about hockey, so that makes sense. What else do we have here? Canadians' experiences meeting famous Canadians. My uncle used to sell cocaine to Bryan Adams. Okay. Okay. This is not the stories I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting. People hanging out in hot tubs with hockey players selling cocaine to Bryan Adams. Again, I'm not sure who Bryan Adams is. Bryan Adams, it sounds familiar. It's a Canadian musician, singer-songwriter. I feel like I should have known this one. What is he known for? What songs? I Do It For You from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Really? Cuts Like a Knife, Reckless, So Far So Good. Summer of 69. Summer of 69. I know Summer of 69. There we go. Bryan Adams. Summer of 69. I knew it all along. Canadian musician, singer, songwriter, record producer. One of the best selling artists of all time. I should definitely know Bryan Adams. I feel like I know that name, Bryan Adams. It's just not like strange enough of a name. It's like Bryan Adams. There's probably a million Bryan Adams, so I wasn't familiar with some of his work. I feel like a lot of other Americans would have known Bryan Adams and thought it was very cool that your uncle sold him drugs. Very cool. Okay, that's quite a story. Uh, moving right along here. Norm Macdonald. Wow. Now I know Norm Macdonald. I didn't know Norm Macdonald was Canadian. Norm Macdonald was Canadian. I love Norm Macdonald. I loved him. Rest in peace. Met him in the hallway at the venue he was playing that night. He asked, "Who's on tonight?" That's my impression. Who's on tonight? When it was him who was on that night. I love Norm Macdonald. He feels like he'd be such a genuine person in real life because his comedy is kind of based off being like genuine and extremely deadpan and hilarious comedy style. Total legend. Oh man, Norm Macdonald. That's awesome. Met him in the hallway at a venue and he made a joke to you. He was asking who's on. When yeah, you're on, Norm. You know you're on later, Norm. That's Norm as F. That man was a treasure, the ultimate comedian in just about every way. You are fortunate to have crossed paths. That's actually awesome. That's actually awesome. Cool. What else do we have? Canadian experiences meeting famous Canadians. I met Dan Aykroyd and Jeff Healey when I worked at a hotel in Kingston, Ontario. I know Dan Aykroyd. I know him from Ghostbusters. Oh yeah. Oh man, extremely famous. Famous here in America, like most Americans know Dan. Jeff Healey, I don't. You ran into them at a hotel. That must happen so much when you think about it. For people who work in the service industry, hotels, restaurants, those are the kind of people that are going to have the like big chances to just run into celebrities randomly. Like celebrities got to eat, they got to stay somewhere. Who's Jeff Healey? Jeff Healey is a Canadian jazz guitarist. I'm not familiar with his work. That's very cool. He was a Canadian blues, rock, and jazz singer. Wow, that's awesome. Cool genre of music, too. I also met Robert Munsch and Mordecai Richler. Robert Munsch. I also, man, a lot of famous Canadians I actually don't know. American Canadian author. Do I recognize this man? He made kids' books? Children's books. Children's author. I can't say that I recognize him. What about the books? Smelly Sock. No. Mordecai Richler? Another famous Canadian I don't know. I'm really learning a lot here. Canadian writer. I don't recognize him. What did he write? Solomon Gursky was here. The Apprenticeship. Jacob Tutu. I'm not familiar. It was at a book signing, and he met Mordecai was a friend of his father. Cool. I pumped gas with Dan Aykroyd in Odessa. Is that some kind of joke I don't understand, or did he literally pump gas with Dan Aykroyd? Who knows? Let's keep going. Oh, here we go. This is the one we've been waiting for. I served Ryan Reynolds and Alanis Morissette coffee in about 2003 when they were dating. This is what I'm talking about. Running into literal famous, like world famous people just randomly. If you're like happen to work at a restaurant or any kind of service job, it must happen way more than I think. There's a lot of celebrities. Like you're bound to run into some if you work at like maybe a famous or even well-known heck, even if you just work at a random Tim Hortons, like maybe you're gonna bump into Ryan Reynolds eventually. Even he's got to get his coffee. Um, Alanis Morissette. Is she Canadian? I know that name. Yeah, Canadian American singer songwriter. What did she? Oh, ironic. She sang ironic. That's what it is. Okay. They both ordered decaf, non fat lattes. And I told them both that they should live a little. No, you did not. No, you did not tell Ryan Reynolds, hey, live a little with your non fat latte. I mean, it was 2003, 20 years ago. Can you believe that? 2003 was 20 years ago. What the heck? When did that happen? Um, so Ryan Reynolds was still really, really, really famous, but he's only gotten more famous in the last 20 years, honestly. Okay, what else do we have here? I was David Milgaard's supervisor. Very gentle and kind man. Well, that sounds wonderful. I love to hear about genuine nice celebrities, but who's David Milgaard? That's the only question I have. David Milgaard, it doesn't say anything. Was a Canadian man wrongfully convicted. Whoa, hold on. Wrongfully convicted for 1969 rape and murder of a nursing student in Saskatoon, imprisoned for 23 years, eventually released and exonerated. Whoa. Dang. That's heavy. That's not what I was expecting. Is this a well-known Canadian? I mean, he's famous in a different way, for a really unfortunate reason. Horrible reason. He lost a good chunk of his life to false allegations by the sound of it. Dang. Dang. Apparently he was a gentle and kind man. Damn. Man. 20 years for nothing. Well, that's nothing new. Whoa. Man, that's not what I was expecting. I thought he was going to be some kind of punk rock singer or something. Let's keep going. I referred Bret the Hitman Hart's sons. Oh, I refereed. How freaking bad am I at knowing anything about hockey? I refereed Bret and Hitman Hart's sons' hockey game occasionally. Bret the Hitman Hart? Bret the Hitman Hart. What a name. This is a this is a Canadian professional wrestler. What? Okay. I don't know much about professional wrestling. Canadian American retired professional wrestler. No way. He refereed Bret the Hitman Hart's sons' hockey games. That's cool. Bret the Hitman would show up and sit in the stands like a normal parent. A scary normal parent. That's awesome. That's the other way you can run into famous people, huh? Is being at their kids' stuff. Because there's a lot of celebrities, I imagine most, who just want to live normal lives and just want to go to their kids' hockey games and support them and go out to dinner and just do normal people stuff. I would not have known who Bret the Hitman was if I saw him at a hockey game. I would just be like, dang, it's a scary man. It's a scary Canadian. Okay, let's keep going. What else? These are good. These are really interesting Canadian experiences meeting famous Canadians. A lot of Canadians was not aware of. Like the only superstar so far has been like Bryan Adams, Ryan Reynolds, Norm Macdonald. There's been a couple. Actually, there's been a couple of really, really famous people run into. Let's keep going. But a lot of Canadians I didn't know about, which is fun. This has also been a bit educational for me. One time, Fred Penner was brought to town by a local festival that my grandma volunteered at. Fred Penner, I don't know him. I don't know Fred Penner. Let's see here. He is a Canadian entertainer and musician. Is this the Red Green Show? Which I think I've heard about. Oh, is a Canadian children's entertainer known for the song The Cat Came Back and his television series Fred Penner's Place. It is a kids show. Oh, I thought there was like a Canadian kids show called The Red Green Show. This aesthetic reminded me of that, but apparently Fred Penner is a different Canadian entertainer and musician. And he has a famous song. Looks very friendly. Children's entertainment, very wholesome. So Fred Penner, okay. She was in charge of Fred Penner's Green Room Lunch. I met him, helping my grandma, and he exclaimed, "This was the best beef and barley soup he has ever had." That's cool. That's cool. Sounds like he was very normal, very nice, and when you get a compliment like that, you never forget it. Okay, let's keep going. I had a beaver swim up to my canoe once. Years ago, back when nickels were still relevant. He really neat finally meeting the guy. I totally misread that. Was really neat finally meeting the guy. But besides that, the Great One and a host of other athletes. The Great One? Who's the Great One? So he had a beaver swim up to my canoe. What does that mean? Like, does that have anything to do with the story he just said? I'm having a lot of trouble deciphering this whole message for some reason. I don't know if it's just me. He had a beaver swim up to his canoe. Is that literal? Back when nickels were still relevant? Is that like Nickelback or like nickels, the currency? What's really neat finally meeting the guy. Who? Meeting who? Besides that, the Great One. Who's the Great One? Is that who is the great who's the Great One? Wayne Gretzky. Oh my gosh. Okay. I did not know he had a nickname. The Great One. Oh my. Oh my, oh my. I did not the Great One. I had no idea about that. That's funny. This is the second person who met the Great One. Okay, they met Wayne Gretzky and other athletes. That's cool. That's cool. Oh, wait, what's this? I met Jim Carrey at an outdoor patio in Toronto. I never remember that Jim Carrey is Canadian. Wow, that's like, Jim Carrey, you know, he's not in as much stuff anymore, but he's like superstar. Especially like back when a lot of his stuff was coming out. Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, Truman Show, like when that was all coming out, like in a short amount of time, it would have been insane, and it still would be insane to meet Jim Carrey. That's like a living legend, honestly. That's like at least Ryan Reynolds level, probably more, just because Jim Carrey's had a longer career, and I think it's nostalgic for a lot of people at this point, Jim Carrey. And there you have it. You know what? That was actually really fun. Really, really fun. That was a great combination of like getting to hear some stories of normal people like bumping into celebrities, Canadian celebrities, randomly. Some of these people I forgot were Canadian, which kind of jogged my memory. That was fun. And a lot of these Canadian celebrities I didn't even know about, which was cool. A couple of hockey players I didn't know about. And then there were just the mega celebrities, which people bump into as well. They gotta walk the earth like the rest of us. That's just cool it's cool and kind of fascinating to hear about this stuff. Sometimes we forget that celebrities are like real people that just go get coffee sometimes. And you tell them to live a little. Give up the low-fat, skinny latte, Ryan Reynolds. And with that, I gotta say I enjoyed this quite a bit. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, perhaps with your story. If you have ever bumped into a Canadian celebrity, a famous Canadian, or know someone who has interacted with a famous Canadian, that'd be really fun to hear about. Good or bad experience. That'd be interesting to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.